Hi, everyone. It is Kimber, the study abroad specialist here. And in today's video, we are going to be talking about the 4 pathways you can use to improve your foreign language skills while studying abroad. So there are essentially 4 ways that you can tie in your foreign language with your study abroad program to enhance your experience. So the first way is going to be through conversational learning of the language. So this is where most people start. It is the baseline. So if you've ever learned a foreign language or tried to learn like me several times, then you know that you start out with the basic things that are going to be leading to conversational elements. So you start out by learning the numbers, you start out by learning the alphabet, you start out by learning basic phrases. So like hello, good morning, good evening, good night, sort of the basics of greetings, things like that. So that is going to be your conversational piece. Now, this is really useful because as you are within your study abroad program and as you're going through whatever curriculum, maybe the particular program you have has a educational component that is related to language, or maybe you yourself have taken it upon yourself to go ahead and take that on. Either way, it is really useful because you can at least start to get familiar within your day-to-day life of how to have a conversation with someone in this new language. Now, I remember when I was in Italy, and like I said, again, as I always say, I'm not the best with the foreign language, but as I was going through and trying to learn it, I became a little bit more comfortable, at least trying to assert myself in going ahead forward with trying to speak the language. Now, in Italy specifically, they obviously, they know when people are not Italian. And so, they would just go ahead and speak in English, but I really, really wanted to at least try to learn it during my semester and really try and communicate with people, that way. So I really, every time I left my house, would try to, really make sure that I did that. And so that would be everything from, buongiorno to anything else that I can't even remember right now. But, at first you're going to sound, you at least feel a little bit silly kind of saying it, like, what am I actually talking about? But I think that if you can at least get those conversational elements of the language going, that's going to really help you. Because I mean, even if you walk into a store and, you're just like, ciao, or whatever language that you're going into and saying it, it at least makes you feel a little bit more a part of the culture and makes it show that you are trying to incorporate that. So with the conversational pieces, it could be anything from, as you're going through learning, maybe you want to learn how to say, how much does this cost in French or in Spanish or in Italian or in Arabic or whatever the language is? How much does this cost? Where are you from? What is your name? The basic conversational things that you would talk about with people in English as well. How do you say it? How do you approach it? What is the tone? All those different things. Those are the starting out points of any good way to incorporate language into your study abroad program so that you can get better and immerse yourself. So the next way to tie in your study abroad and language together, your foreign language, is to practice. So I kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier, but you definitely want to practice as much as you can. So whether you are in the phase of just kind of starting with conversational talk, or maybe you are, let's say, coming into your study abroad program, you're more advanced. Maybe you are on Spanish level 3. And so you know a lot of the language, but you don't necessarily know the inflection. Maybe you don't know how to conjugate certain verbs just yet, or quite correctly, let's say, within the actual culture, because maybe it sounds different when you are in your Spanish class at home versus when you actually get into the culture. Maybe you're going to a region where they pronounce things differently. I know that this is true with Arabic, where, there is Middle Eastern Arabic. So there is Arabic that is spoken in Dubai, and that is different from what is spoken in Egypt, and that is different from what is spoken in Iraq. And so there are all different types of ways to do things. And for most languages, that is true. People have different inflections and different sort of ways that they change up the language a little bit. So if you are within that situation where maybe you're a little bit more advanced, it is all about practice now. So I would highly recommend that from the time you step off of that plane until whenever you go back home, that you are always in practice mode. It doesn't mean that every single thing that comes out of your mouth has to be that foreign language, but you want to make it as much of an essential part of your being while you are there as much as possible. So this includes, even at home, like, you may be living, let's say, with a group of people, and maybe they're not even used to the language just yet, but you want to practice with them. That's going to help them too. In class, hopefully you're going to have an opportunity to be able to incorporate the language as much as possible. I know that particularly if you are an American student studying abroad, most courses are taught in English outside of the language courses, but maybe you could even suggest, like, can we have a day where, even if, let's say, you're studying comparative literature or something, where we try and mix it up a little bit, and maybe suggest this to the professor, like, we go ahead and mix it up and try and incorporate some of the Spanish language or some of the Italian language as we're learning the course. It's just going to help everyone sort of elevate things a little bit more, particularly if you are at that higher level of learning the language. You're going to get the practice in whenever you're going to, let's say, the bank, or if you're going to the grocery store, or you're going to, catch a ride share, whatever. Try and practice as much as you can. And again, it doesn't have to be overwhelming. It could just be, even conversational to a certain extent. But at that point, you're probably in longer spaces. So you're not just asking, what's your name or how are you? You're asking, where are you from? What brought you to Spain? Let's say, how did you get involved with your line of work? Like, all these different things that you want to know from people. And then again, as you're going back and forth, you too are trying to express yourself within the language. So you've asked the person about them, and then now you're responding within whatever language it is. Like, this is, who I am, this is where I'm from, this is what I'm doing here, all those different things, so that you can really practice and sort of really fine tune those points of where you may be struggling, and sort of understand, like, how you can, become a little bit more smoother with your pronunciations and the inflections, and how you actually present yourself, so that as you move forward within the culture, whether it just be for even 6 months, maybe you want to go back and work there, that you can feel a little bit more immersed into everything. Speaking of immersion, that is my third point. So immersion is going to be very important. Now, I know that with certain study abroad programs, you may be limited to how much you can do. Maybe you are doing an internship program, which is great. That's a great way of immersion. Maybe you are someone who, you have so much that is a part of your academic course while you're studying abroad, you may not get to do that much immersion. I would say to try your best. So with immersion, this is going to mean a lot of times taking it upon yourself to make sure that you immerse yourself in the culture. So maybe you join a local art club, or maybe you join a local sports club or a yoga studio or something like that, where it is definitely much more tailored to trying to find locals to fit in with. So with this is going to be helpful because, again, even throughout your program, you are likely going to be exposed to people that can speak the language or that can help you along with the language. I know that a lot of programs will also bring in experts or people who, they specifically teach people to learn second languages, and, that's what they focus on. But if you are connecting with locals, this is going to be helpful for you, not just for, actually building connection, building rapport with people, building up your network, but also too, it's going to give you a chance to sort of see a different side of things. I talked a lot about this when I said to, stop being a tourist within your study abroad city. This is another part of that. So for learning the language, actually immerse yourself. If you can, let's say, get, a group of people that are going to invite you to dinner. I talked about that in another video of how, having a traditional Italian meal with an Italian family was so life-changing for me, because it was so different than what I ever experienced before in my life, coming from the US. And in the fact that they do it every single day, we only do that on holidays. And so, that was a great immersion experience. And, within that, I was trying to pick up on some of the language, but they also spoke English as well. But it could be things like that. It could be even like traveling. Let's say you are living in a place like, I don't know, maybe Berlin. And so that is obviously a huge place within Germany. It's the capital, and, it is like an epicenter. So people there are very multicultural, and a lot of people just speak English anyway. Maybe you travel to a part of Germany that is not so English speaking. And maybe, let's say, you spend the weekend there. And that means that for you, whenever, from the time that you leave, let's say your hostel, to the time that you are leaving to get back on that plane, you have to speak only German, because everyone else there, they do not speak English. Or maybe if they do, they don't speak it well. So you have to immerse yourself within that. You could do that in other countries as well, just using Germany for an example. But I think that anytime that you can sort of dive a little bit deeper, so that definitely ties into the practicing. And again, even if you're, let's say, not even an advanced speaker of a foreign language, but you want to actually immerse yourself and, just kind of jump all the way in and say like, I am beginning, I've just been here 3 weeks, but I really want to pick up on this. So I'm going to go ahead and, join a local club where everyone only speaks whatever this language is. And I want to be able to hear it and connect with people. The other thing too is you want to be open to criticism. So that is going to be something that is very important. I know that, as human beings, we often have this emphasis on wanting to, be right, be perfect, but particularly with foreign language, put it on yourself to just be open to being corrected. One of the things that you will find, particularly if you are an American, but I think this happens with everybody, is that people are quick to correct you if you are mispronouncing things, but they're not necessarily trying to be, critical or criticize you. They want you to do it well because they take pride in their language. And we would do the same thing as English speakers. But if you are trying to, say something, let's say in French or Spanish, and someone who you're speaking to, lightly corrects you, then just take that in stride. And the other thing that you can do with that as well is if they pronounce something a certain way and then they, let's say, are correcting you, that you pronounce it back so that you have confirmed that you've understood that you did not get it right the first time, but that you heard them and that you want to get it right the second time. So I just wanted to point that out as well, that that is something that comes along with it, particularly with languages, and that it can be a little bit frustrating, but it is all for your good as you're learning how to pronounce things. And don't be afraid to fail and get it wrong and sound a little crazy. But as you go along, you will, start mastering things and feel a little bit more confident in speaking the language. The fourth way to tie together your study abroad experience and foreign language is to develop writing skills. Now, this is a big one. I think that, for some people who take foreign language, they understand that there's a difference between speaking it and writing it. And for others, it is not. Now, for me, I am someone who is highly analytical, love writing, and practically a professional writer at this point. That has been my strong suit for most of my life. And so for me, I actually don't have as much of a problem with reading foreign language. So it's like if I understand what the word means, I can actually understand what I'm reading more than actually speaking it. I would love to be at a spot where I can both read and speak foreign language. And this is not very detailed, just keep in mind, this is more like a conversational level, understanding okay, this is asking how are you, things like that. But not necessarily always being good at the pronunciation of it. But if you can take it to that next level, or maybe you are someone who you started out where you've been, let's say, reading Spanish for a while, but you want to actually learn how to speak it and properly pronounce it, that's even better. But if you are the reverse, where you're learning how to speak it, try to take it to the next level during your study abroad program and learn how to write it or at least read it. And so when I say that, as I was saying before, there's a difference between learning how to, knowing how to speak a language and knowing how to actually read a language and understand it and write with it. So one of the ways you can do that is by, for example, consuming media. This is something that a lot of people who are trying to learn English for the first time actually do. So they will watch videos. So they'll come to places like YouTube or, Twitter or wherever and try and consume videos. They tend to watch a lot of US news, which I don't recommend to anybody, but they do that because they're just trying to pick up on all the different words. And so that is going to be effective. I would say that if you're trying to learn a language for the first time, particularly if you are coming from English to learning a different language, that you actually try to read some newspapers. I know that's an old school way of thinking, but I did that a lot when I was in Italy, just going through and reading the newspapers. Because again, it's you can start to pick out different words of what they are. You may not know how to properly pronounce them, but you may have seen them. So let's say you've seen K, or I'm messing up right now, but you've seen whatever the words are. And then you understand, I may not know fully what that means, but I know, if I read this within a sentence, I can at least understand some of what they're saying. And so I definitely just wanted to point that out also to actually writing it. Now, this is very advanced. There are some programs out there that require you to, let's say, write an entire essay in French or write an entire essay in Spanish. Obviously, if you're just a beginner, or if you're someone like me who is always a beginner in foreign language. You will not be doing that. Or if you do, you will not succeed. But if you are in that advanced level, that's going to be great for you to sort of confirm that you actually don't just understand how to speak it, but you understand how to write it and articulate it within words on a page. That can be very powerful. And depending on whatever industry you want to move forward in with your career, that is only going to be able to help you, because you're not just someone who can just talk about it, but you can actually demonstrate that you fully understand how to communicate the language. And that is different than just being able to speak words in random spots. So definitely consider learning how to develop your skills through writing and reading as well, in addition to actually speaking the language of where you're going. All right, and so that is the end of this video. I hope that it has been helpful for you. I know that foreign language can be very intimidating for people. And I know that specifically for study abroad, people always ask, like, how can I sort of combine the idea of study abroad and foreign language? And so I just want to give you some ideas of kind of the 4 common ways that I know that students really kind of take that direction, particularly the students that I have worked with in my advising program. If you're interested in getting affordable study abroad advising, please go ahead and plug this link into any search engine, or you can just click the link that's below in the description box. I offer sessions every single week, just keeping in mind that the times listed on the calendar are in Pacific Standard Time. So it should readjust for you, but we know that sometimes systems fail. So just keeping in mind that my calendar is in Pacific Standard Time, and then you'll just need to pick out whatever time works best for you on that. So with that being said, please go ahead again and share this video with someone else that you might know who wants to study abroad. Maybe they are interested in studying abroad specifically for a foreign language. Go ahead and like this video, and go ahead and please subscribe as well. I hope to see you here very, very soon. I release videos every Friday, and I will see you on the next one.